Welcome to the RetroBro Live Show. Whether you consider him a known troll or your favorite show, RetroBro is here to talk games, slam protein shakes, and maybe hurt a few feelings along the way. Don't forget to sub and stay active in the chat. Now, without further delay, here is the RetroBro.
That's right, further delay, fashionably late as always. But we are here and we are live.
No. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
That's right, Bill. We are doing it live, and I got Kamikaze Soundz. What's going on, man? How you been? It's been a week. Anything new and interesting happened in the life of the Kamikaze?
Nah, man, not really, man. I mean, I really enjoyed our last stream, our last live stream, man. That was a really fucking fun time, man. But no, man, once again, man, I really appreciate the pleasure of you inviting me on your channel, and hope to have another really just fun conversation.
Yeah, we got a few things to go over, man. It's hard because I want to make it weekly, but shit sometimes doesn't always happen. So I want to mix in some of my thoughts on a few different things. Well, the Castlevania series came out, so we'll work into that. But life's been pretty. This last week went by pretty quick. But you know, we are here, and if you are in the comments, make sure you are staying active. It is a very interactive show, so we are definitely going to be trying to hit those comments as they come in. So you've been up to any gaming? You still playing Overwatch, man?
Are you really seriously? Yeah, of course, man. No, I actually, you know, I bought the 2-for-1 shit at GameStop. Ended up getting Uncharted 4 because I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series, but I never played the fourth one. But I haven't started it yet. And I got 2 Wii U games, which was Xenoblade Chronicles X. A little bit nervous to start it because I heard it's like crazy long. But I did start playing Hyrule Warriors and actually really like it. Actually, the couple hours that I've sunk into it, I've had like a fucking blast playing it, man. I didn't think that I would like it, but I actually have really enjoyed it thus far.
Is that a Matt, was it Moga mass multiplayer game online or whatever?
No, it's like if you took Zelda and you took Dynasty Warriors and they had a quiet evening along with a couple of drinks and they had a baby. That's basically what you would get. And yeah. I've never even played a Dynasty Warriors games. I get the references. So to me, it's like a new experience. And it's basically just like this big map. You run around, you try to complete objectives as they happen. They're just live events that happen. Like, it's like, hey, you need to run over here and take care of this guy. Or, hey, you need to run over here and take care of this objective. So it's like you're on a huge plain battlefield. And you just kind of, tackle objectives as they come. And it's with a Zelda thing. I mean, it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
I'll probably never buy a Wii U. Crazy, man. Like, I don't know. I got too many other games to play. And, like, I was talking to a few friends the other day, and we were talking about the Switch. And because I had a Switch, I played Zelda, beat it, and then sold everything for a profit, which was nice. But, I was, like, thinking about it, and I'm like, man, you know what? I'll probably never, ever own a Switch again. Just because I've got so many games between PS4 and Xbox. I don't even know how I'd be able to keep up with everything.
Yeah, but like the reason I actually own 2 Wii U's. My first Wii, it's a long story, but anyway, long story. I ended up owning 2 Wii U's. One's for me and one's for my kids. But I tell you, man, the Wii U is another great party type console. I mean, you can have five players playing up to like one game, like Mario Party. It's terrible, 10 by the way. But just something like that, like playing that Mario Kart, some of the Kirby games, the Nintendo Land, etc., etc. They're just really good games to play with like your kids.
My kids are good at breaking stuff, man. I just like destroyed an Xbox controller trying to get the A button to unstick itself. And it was my good Xbox controller too, man. It had the Gears of War skin and everything on. It was like my controller.
Those look cool. Yeah, those look cool too. Yeah, those look cool.
It was because like you always have that one controller that's kind of off limits. Like
right.
I know I do, and somehow that was the controller that was being used, and I don't know. My 5-year-old got a hold of it because she watches like YouTube and that. and I have no idea what she put in this thing, but I mean, I tried like jamming stuff in there. I tried like separating. I took like a screwdriver and just tried to pop the A button off, and eventually I just wound up raging and just slamming it into the ground and breaking it.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
But no, I mean, it's not ultimately like, you know, I mean, I my own personal Wii U that I have, I barely ever touch it, but there are some solid games on there. They're very few and far between, but as a system in a whole, like there's so like I said, there's so many games that like it's so hard for me to just like recommend it and actually play it. But I actually have had the most fun playing it with my kids. Like we sit around and play Mario Kart. We've played, man, I can't even name some of the other games. Like Nintendo Land is actually really fun to play with my kids. But some of the games, like solo games that I've played on it, like it's not terrible. I mean, it's not great, but I mean, it's all right.
I think I would need the Wii U to be at a just really good price. I don't know, dude. I just don't care about the Mario games and all that. And shit.
Like Mario Kart 8 is still $60 fucking. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is out on the Switch. And Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U is still $60. There's no price drop on the store. There's no price drop in the store, like the actual store. It's still $60 fucking, which blows my fucking mind, man.
Well, dude, the Wii U's still like over $200, man. You could get a cheaper Xbox One. Like, I think a new Wii U is still like probably $220.
Well, I will tell you, man, if you've never played Splatoons, that is a really surprisingly fun fucking game. My oldest son is the one who caught on to it. He was like, man, we got to get Splatoons. We need to add it to our library. I was like, cool, man, whatever. So I ended up getting Splatoons, and he played it like crazy. Like my youngest son played it. Everyone loves Splatoons in the house as far as the kids go. And I ended up playing it one day, and I was like, I fucking get it. Okay, I get it. It's a actually really solid, fun fucking game.
Yeah, that's what I heard, man. Because like people who have played it, they really enjoy it. But yeah, people who haven't played it are like, oh, that's stupid. You know, what want to do with that? So I try to hold off judgment on that game. I mean, at a surface level, it doesn't appeal to me.
Well, that's the same way that I was. I completely judged it wrongly. I was like, this is just not for me. But after spending a couple hours with it when I played it, I actually had a really solid time with the campaign. I had a really actually solid time, more than solid time with the multiplayer. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I think the only way I could really get into like the Switch again is if they tried to bring back some like old IPs that they haven't done in the longest time. Like whatever happened to Eternal Darkness? That was a good game, man, on the GameCube. I guess they just figure because
and actually, a buddy like he tried to turn me onto that, and like he let me borrow it, and man, that game was fucking creepy, man. It's a really fucking good creepy, just fucking that was the scary game, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I only ever played bits and pieces of it, but it was like a psychological game, man. Like shit with like. You'd wind up upside down or in walls and shit like that. It was crazy.
And those are the best, man. Those are the fucking best.
Yeah, it was original, man. You'd probably love it, knowing the type of games you like. What's up, Down Phoenix? He says, I temporarily have 2 Wii U's. I'm going to sell my 8 gig since I got a sweet deal on a 32 gig. Wii U would be great to mod. Yeah, that is another thing. Down Phoenix brings up a good point. You can actually mod the Wii U's and pretty much just make them an emulation machine. And the funny thing about it is, you can mod it to play Wii U games. So you could essentially buy the Wii U and have no physical media for it, but play Wii U games on it without having to download them, like say off the Virtual Console or whatever their equivalent to like Xbox Live is or whatnot. So that actually would probably, now that he mentions that and it refreshes my memory, I would probably see myself doing that with it. Because I like the GameCube, I just don't like spending the money for the game. GameCube games are expensive, man. Like Super Smash Bros. Melee is like a fucking $60 game.
Well, I mean, I remember my experience with the GameCube. I walked into like this random game store and I saw like these guys playing. It was like a shipped-in thing from Japan before like it was actually released in the U.S. And I was like, they were playing Luigi's Mansion. I was like, I gotta get that. I gotta own that. And then after having the GameCube, like, I mean, listen, I've had my time. I've experienced my Nintendo consoles and you know, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I'm just not a Nintendo fan. I mean, I'm just not, man. I mean, I enjoy a good Mario game. Who doesn't? Like, when Mario 3D World, that was fucking phenomenal. But, you know, it still at the end of the day, man, I just, you know, Nintendo's just, like, not my favorite company. I mean, I like them because they appeal to my kids, and my kids love them. They love the Mario games. They love the Zelda game. They love all the Mario stuff. But for me personally, it's just not my cup of tea, man.
My kids, it's... My older one, she's 11. She doesn't really play video games. She'll play like games on like tablets and her cell phone or whatever. My 5-year-old, a little bit different. She actually really enjoys video games. It's funny. She watches this one show on Netflix. It's called like Glitter Force. It's a total anime. It's like an anime, but it's for little kids. And she loves it, man. So she's kind of like my little gamer dork, you know, little gamer geek. But she plays like, she loves playing Tekken 7, dude. She loves that game. I think I talked about that in the last episode. So yeah, man, talking about them revamping old IPs, I got around to watching the Castlevania series on Netflix. So for those of you, if you happen to watch this later, I know Justin's down Phoenix. I know he's watching. He's seen it. But the Castlevania, Konami made a 4-episode series, released it on Netflix. I guess this would kind of be like their what is that? Their not like an epilogue or prologue, but what is it when they launch something like a TV show? It's the first episode. I can't think of the name for it, but it's kind of like
a pilot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 4-episode pilot. Essentially, is kind of how I looked at it. But each episode is really only about 23 minutes, but it follows the timeline of the third Castlevania for the if you ever played the one on the NES, the Dracula's Curse. It follows that timeline. It's pretty good, man. I think we were talking previously. You said you were never really into the Castlevania series.
Yeah, it just, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm against it or I wasn't, like, it's just, I never find that place or that time. Like, I knew of the series, but it just never, like, drew me in. I've heard of it. I've heard great things about it, but for some odd reason, man, it was just in a game that, like, I never found myself getting into. I remember playing one of the ones on NES. I can't even tell you what it is, but I don't remember like having like nostalgia for it or anything like that. I knew it existed, but it just wasn't for me.
The first Castlevania game I ever played was Simon's Quest, which is like the worst Castlevania game you could ever play, because that's the hardest one, man.
Yeah, and like I remember the AVGN's review of that shit. Like, I mean, I was fucking. I mean, I like I said, and that doesn't influence me or anything like that, but I remember like seeing that review or from him doing it. I just remember laughing my ass off about how just hysterically bad it's supposed to be. But no, man, the series in a whole, man, I think that I really need to revamp that and just really try something like that out, man. I've heard great things. There was actually one, I think it's like on the PSP or the PS Vita. It's like Symphony of the Night. What's Symphony of the Night on? I've heard that's like one of the best ones.
Dude, Symphony of the Night is like one of the best. If you ask most people like what their favorite Castlevania game is, 90% of the time they're going to say Symphony of the Night. So I'll explain Symphony of the Night while explaining the TV series. So like I said, the TV series follows Trevor, who is it's kind of an origin story. If you ever want to really look through the original origins of Castlevania, you want to go and you want to play the PS2 version, Lament of Innocence, because that is actually your very first Leon Belmont, where he goes and takes on Matthias. His name is Matthias, as he kind of turns into Dracula. So he kind of starts the Belmont clan. Well, Trevor is a descendant of Leon, and it is the prequel to essentially the first and second Castlevanias on the Nintendo. Well, Trevor fights alongside Alucard, which is Matthias' son, or Dracula's son. The reason why Dracula, and they do a really good job of this in the show, the reason why Dracula wants to kill mankind is because they killed his wife. His wife was a scientist who essentially stumbled upon his castle, and they fell in love. Well, because the time frame that it was, they burned her at the stake for being a witch. So that's how the series starts, and it takes place. It starts as Matthias meeting his wife. I want to say, I can't remember her name. I should know it because I played Castlevania 100 times. But it starts off, they burn her at the stake, and then he goes crazy. Well, they have a son who's Alucard, and he fights alongside Trevor to kill Dracula because his mother was, she wanted Dracula to exist with mankind and not repay evil for evil type of thing. But Alucard is essentially the protagonist in Symphony of the Night. So it's really good storyline, man. And I'll say one thing for the show. It is fucking gory, bro. Like, it is not...
I'm down for that. I love shit like that.
It's It's gory. They swear. There's crude humor in it. I really think you'd probably like it. It's not a kid show. And no one under the age of 16 should probably be watching this show. Certainly wouldn't let my kids watch it. What's up, BioPhoenix?
No,
I would definitely, dude, check it out. I mean, the fourth Alucard's like a fan favorite, so they really put him in this series. Lisa, that's her name, Down Phoenix. I was gonna say Lisa, but I didn't want to be wrong and look like a jerk off. But
it sounds a lot like it sounds. And like I said, I've never ever really been in the Castlevania series, like really at all. I couldn't tell you. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, you had to blow my brains out. I couldn't tell you nothing about it. But it sounds a little bit something like Devil May Cry. A little bit. Is it something along those lines?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the backstory on Devil May Cry, to be honest with you. I've played bits and pieces of it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I really need. I need to check it out, man. I mean, the way you're explaining it and describing it, it sounds fucking super fucking interesting. Like I said, I was never into the games, never into the lore, et cetera, et cetera. But the way you're describing it, man, damn, it sounds really fucking good.
It is surprisingly good. I mean, because everyone's always skeptical of shit that any translation from game show game to movies. But this was done well, and I'm glad they did it in a cartoon theme and not live actors, because I don't think it would have been as good.
Well, Netflix has been on their A game, man. I mean, they have a lot of good fucking series, like Orange is the New Black, et cetera, et cetera. Like, not that in particular, but like Netflix has really been holding their own as like making like really good content. Like, and this is like exclusive to Netflix too, right?
Yeah, you can't get this on any other platform.
Yeah, so like that even has me like even hyped up even more to check it out, because Netflix does a pretty damn good job of just doing like their own like independent thing, man. I mean, they have a pretty good reputation thus far.
Well, even the shows on Netflix that I don't particularly like, it's not because they're bad shows. It's just because I just don't have a taste for them. Like the only one I don't like is House of Cards, and I tried watching that one Frontier one, and it's done really well, but it's just to me it was too much dialogue. I didn't think it was really good. But yeah, everything pretty much that I've seen from them, I mean, it's like AAA TV. It's like movie quality television, man. It's really good.
Yeah, I've heard House of Cards is fucking phenomenal, but I haven't found the time, haven't found the interest in it. But I've heard nothing but amazing and great things from about that show. And I like Kevin Spacey, man. It's a cool fucking dude.
See, I fucking can't stand Kevin Spacey. I've never watched anything. That's probably why I don't like it, because I've never watched any Kevin Spacey thing that I liked. I can't think of one single movie that I enjoyed.
Not even American Beauty.
No,
man.
I hated American Beauty, dude.
Really?
I hate it. The only funny part about that movie is when he's jerking off in the shower at the beginning, and he's like, "Yep, that's me jerking off in the shower." Like it. That's the only part I thought was funny. I hated that whole movie.
I'm not saying it was a good movie or anything like that, but like that just kind of like, for example, like embodies like a Casey, fucking performance. You know what I mean?
But let's be honest, though. There's only one real reason why that movie is as popular as it was. is because some 16-year-old showed her chest. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Like, that's
Fair
why
enough.
the movie is what it is.
Completely agree. Completely fucking agree. But he was in that Call of Duty game, and like that was like supposed to be a huge selling one. It was like, hey, Kevin Spacey's in a Call of Duty game as the bad guy, and I'm like, and I don't give a fuck about Call of Duty. I don't give a fuck about Call of Duty story. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I like Kevin Spacey, but that's not gonna make me buy this fucking game. What that was like Advanced Warfare, I think, something like that, right?
I don't know. I didn't even know he was in one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's like the main villain in like one of these Call of Duty games. Like, I mean, the full face render. I mean, it's literally like Kevin Spacey as a villain in your fucking Call of Duty game. Like, straight up just fucking him there.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I would definitely say I mean, if for anyone that doesn't have Netflix, I would say it's worth getting Netflix just for the shows that they have on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll check it out, man. I'll give it a whirl, man.
Sorry, I gotta stay off my phone when we're doing these. There's always YouTube drama, man. There's always fucking YouTube drama that somehow always finds my way. But that is neither here. I can't speak. That is neither here nor there. Yeah. So Castlevania series, definitely check it out. But man, I've been playing some. You know, I talked about last week about how those games I got from that. What was that deal that I did over at GameStop? One of them was Doom, man, and I put like a good 4 or 5 hours into that game, and you know, I don't know if that game was just all fanboy hype or what, but dude, honestly did not like it, man. To me, it did not feel like Doom. You know what?
I'll go ahead.
But there was one part. Okay, I can handle the amaziness because Doom, you expect it. Like, there's always going to be parts of Doom where you got to go find a key that you probably missed somewhere. You probably just missed like a door that you needed to open or whatever. And you know, that's fine. But for me, the problem was they added platforming to this game, and I've never been like, oh, platforming in a first-person shooter. Boy, that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do that. And if they would have just like sprinkled it in, I would have been fine with it. But it's like the 5th level or whatever. They make you climb this fucking massive tower, and the whole thing is platforming to the top. And if you miss something, you fall all the way down to the bottom, and you got to do it again, and you got to time your jumps, and there's moving things, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't want to be doing this. I want to be killing zombies, hordes and hordes of zombies. And I was like, I can't do it right now. I got to put it down.
Well, all right. So, to the game's credit, okay? So, I get where you're coming from about the platforming, okay? But what that's doing in those sections, if you want to move past those, it's kind of warming you up to the verticality of the game. And in my opinion, the verticality of this game is really, really good because it gives you Doom. To me, like, I feel like this game is Doom. It embodies Doom. Fast-paced action, murder, fucking murder.
But it's not fast-paced action, though, dude. Okay, that's the thing.
So,
like,
all right, what level? All right, what level are you playing on easy?
I'm on normal, and I'm like probably up to level 5.
Okay.
And for me, it was just too far and few between. Like, the hordes when they're there and they're spawning, awesome. Like, can't deny that. When that's going on, it's Doom and I love it. But aside from that, it's like it's just too much of a gap.
I think what you're comparing to, like, all right, so let's just rewind. We're going back to like whenever Doom came out. You remember those long corridors where you're looking for a key, you've killed all the enemies, you know, you're looking for that secret passageway or the key to get that door open. Don't you kind of feel like those sections were still kind of like Doom-ish?
Yeah, but those. Yeah, but like I said, but that's not where I have a problem with it though.
But no, what I'm saying is like the portions that you're talking about, the platforming to getting up to this section to move on to this section, there's still got to be some kind of like cognizant story in it, right? And from getting from point A to point B, and I agree, those parts are not fun. But if you look at it as a whole, when it comes down to Doom, you have the horde killer mode sprees that are nothing but a blast to play. And when you bring in the platforming, I feel like some of those sections in the early stages, when you're talking about the first 4 to 5 hours, they're kind of trying to get you prepared for, in these horde sections, it's not just a one level playing field. You need to jump up to the next level. You're going to need to escape over to the third level, jump up, grapple yourself up. And it's completely new in a Doom game, but at the same time, it's just action, murder, no reload with platforming. But I wouldn't even call it platforming. I would just call it scaling, because the levels sometimes are also wide, but they're also big in the scale of verticality. They're tall, they're big. And I think that brings another whole new element to the Doom game, because now you can shoot down on enemies, shoot up on enemies, run away from an enemy, get down to a lower level, replenish your health. But the fun part about that game is like you need to be continuously killing. And if you're not continuously killing, you literally, you're going to die. It makes you focus on murder and death, and I think that's what Doom is all about. You are rewarded by ripping an enemy apart by doing those kill animations.
With a chainsaw.
Exactly. You're rewarded by that, by giving health and giving points, etc., etc. You're rewarded by that. And I think that's why I wouldn't say it wouldn't fit a Doom. That game doesn't fit a narrative. I think that it does. I think that it's a Doom game for a new generation.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, my personal experience with Doom is, first time I ever played Doom was on a fucking old ass compact.
Oh man.
We didn't have a controller for it. I had to use a keyboard. I even had to have one of my dad's friends come over and program the computer for us.
Dude, it was good with the keyboard, man. Though that was the way to play it. I loved playing Doom on the old computers, dude. Loved it. And when it wasn't crashing.
Bro, it's something, and that's what I'm getting to is my whole experience with Doom is a game that turned me off from PC gaming, because they always had this initiation feel PC games are way too hard, they're way too complicated. I don't know how to use a keyboard and mouse, and this is speaking from a younger me, by the way, but it turned me off from PC gaming. It scared me away from it. But knowing what Doom is, now it got translated to newer consoles, and playing Doom with an actual controller, and playing Doom 3, which I didn't hate, I actually really enjoyed. And then Doom, the new Doom, man, I think that the new Doom kind of embodies a lot of Doom in a whole.
Yeah. Down Phoenix makes a good point. He says Doom was best with the keyboard. That was how you needed to circle strafe. And yeah, that was, as he also points out, that was pre-dual analog controllers. But see, it's kind of funny because Doom actually did the opposite for me. Doom made me want to play PC games, because I remember the first time I actually played Heretic and Wolfenstein previously to Doom. And those games, compared to anything we had on consoles at the time, was it was like comparing a PS4 to a Sega at that time. As far as technology wise, PC was so far ahead, it was ridiculous.
Oh, it still is.
Yeah, I see. And I haven't played too many modern PC games, so I can't really speak for it. I know you can, but wow, is it really that much of a difference today? Even that's crazy, man.
Today is PC so much ahead?
Yeah. Do you really notice it that much though?
No, I mean, like I said, I don't have some amazing gaming rig. I have a decent Alienware computer, and it does what I want it to do. But I will say, if I would go back and play some of the newer, not go back, if I play a newer age game, a new game, I played Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2, you can from playing. All right, so those are the two biggest games that I ever played on my computer in the new age gaming. And to see what Titanfall 2 looks like, and to see what Battlefield 1 looks like on a PC, coming from like only straight console gaming, graphically wise, yeah, there's a fucking difference. Huge time. Big time. But at the same time, those games can be a fucking problem and a headache depending on your rig, how it computes to your computer. So at the same time, I will shun PC gaming for the most part, even though I enjoy it and I know it's better and I have the capacity to do it, to avoid the headache of saying, this game, I'm going to need to tweak this, I got to tweak that, I got to change this, I got to change this resolution, versus just fucking turning on the game and fucking playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. And going back to the whole Doom thing, I will say that that's one thing the game did right, is you do have to tactically figure, like, okay, when am I going to use my chainsaw? Because when you use your chainsaw, you get like a massive ammo drop.
Right.
So yeah, man, I mean, if that part of the game I absolutely love, I think they could have just scaled back on the platform, and I'm sure Bethesda will do another one here in the near future. I just hope they kind of cut that back a little bit, because it comes to the point where I feel like it just becomes like a chore in between these areas where I'm killing monsters. Like I'm playing Shadow Warriors right now. That's from like 2013, that game, but that is more of a, it's like a serious Sam type of game where, sure, there's moments in between to where you might miss a wall or something like that, but the game doesn't emphasize that time in between. I think Doom just put too much emphasis on that time in between, you know, the hordes. I just think, I don't know, I think it was a little unbalanced. I was gonna sell it at first, but I thought to myself, like, nah, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep my save file. Maybe 6 months from now I'll go back and, you know, maybe I'll have a different opinion, because that's happened before. So
I will say, like, if you know, I will say, man, finish it before you do anything or have any like more thoughts about it. Finish it at least, because I do think that you might be at the part, if I'm remembering, there is this weird or random part where there is platforming for moving from point A to point B. And I remember that section, I fucking dreaded and I hated. But at the end of the day, when it came to those horde modes, like it pushed me enough where I hated those sections, but I was so driven to get to those points with the horde mode to do those things because I loved them so much. And yeah, I died a few times, et cetera, but I enjoyed them so much. And like I said, the platforming parts, I feel they add like this whole new level to Doom. I think that it's Doom in the new age, and it's like where you can, you know, jump up to this new level, go back down to this new level, and it just gives this whole like I said, it's not like a whole open world field when it comes to those battle like horde modes. It's more of a verticality thing, and I love that being able to jump up a few levels. I think that was really, and it's not intuitive. Like you literally just. You see the ledge, you jumped up to it and hit the A button, you like literally will just climb right up.
Yeah. You know what it is too? Probably I've got so many games right now that I want to play that maybe I'm just a little impatient with it. I bet you if that was like the only new game I had in my PS4 library, that I'd probably stick to a little bit. But I'll get back to it, man.
But don't get me wrong, it's good for one playthrough. I'll be honest with you. Once you finished it, you're done with it. The multiplayer on that game is complete trash. But
that's a bummer to hear. But we got Quake coming, dude. Are you excited for Quake? That new Quake that's coming out?
Sort of, kind of. Like I wasn't into Quake until the Dreamcast, like Quake Arena.
Dude, I loved Quake 3 Arena on the Dreamcast.
Oh man, yeah,
that was some good couch time right there.
Yeah, and like that was when I was like huge into like. All right, so I never played online gaming until I had my Dreamcast. And like playing like Phantasy Star Online, that sucked up a lot of hours of my life when I was a kid or a young adult. And but I remember playing Quake Arena a fucking lot. So I honestly my first like thing with Quake was Quake 4, and I believe that story, if I remember correctly, was really, really good. It was different for the time.
Was that the one on 360 and PS3?
Yes, and that was the one where like you get halfway or 70% through the game and you end up like getting captured by the enemy and they're trying to like mutate you into like the new Quake enemy, and they like end up chopping your legs off. Like you go through this whole scene of you being strapped down to like a medical bed, going through this assembly line, being turned into one of their soldiers. They chop your legs off, they put your fucking like mechanical legs on, your armor body on, and halfway through your soldiers stop the process, but like now you're like half part of the enemy and half like, you still have your sanity. They didn't reprogram you. Do you remember that?
No, man. The reason why I asked is because I saw the game at GameStop. Hey, what's going on, JRPG Gaming? I saw the game at GameStop not too long ago, and it's like a $2 game, dude. And I was gonna buy it, and I'm like, am I gonna play it? But maybe I'll grab it now. Man, it sounds like it's pretty good, actually.
I don't remember obviously the multiplayer won't be active anymore. I don't even remember anything from the multiplayer from that, but the story on that was like pretty fucking solid. And I saw it on sale on Steam a couple times. I actually want to go back and relive it because I remember liking that story a lot.
Well, maybe I'll snag it on Steam. Well, it'll probably be cheaper on the 360 though.
Yeah, but I know like when you think Quake, you think like arena shooters, et cetera, et cetera. But when I played, my first initial thing with Quake was the arena shooter, and then when Quake 4 came out, like I ended up, like I said, like in the story way more than I did the multiplayer for it.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I might for $2. Shit, I'll probably just go grab it, and because I got my 360 and my I have like a bonus room when you walk into my house. It used to be my game room, but now it's just like a TV, my Retro Pi, my like OG Xbox 360. Saturn, yada yada yada, all the disc-based shit, and I'll every now and then I'll sneak in there when the kids are watching TV in the living room or something. So yeah, maybe I'll grab it, man, for $2. Sounds like it's at least worth me, even if it's only like a 7 or 8 hour storyline.
Yeah, it's short, quick, and sweet. It's short, quick, and sweet.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to grab that. So moving on, have you got a chance? I guess so. Crash Trilogy is apparently like one of the best-selling games right now, and it did like more games, I think, within the first weekend than Horizon Zero Dawn did. Take that for what it is. I'm sure over the long run, Horizon Zero Dawn will have more sales overall. But have you got a chance to play Crash Trilogy?
Back in like 1997.
No. Okay, so you haven't played the PS4 version though.
No, yeah. I mean, like I appreciate Crash. I appreciate what it did back then, but like I'm not gonna spend $40 to relive it. Like it doesn't mean that much to me.
It's kind of surprising. It just goes to show how popular retro is. But, I don't really want to talk about the game because we've all been there. We've played that. I think you're in your 30s. I'm in my 30s. We know what's up. Do you even Crash Bandicoot on the PS1? I got them all on the Pi. But there was a journalist that had came out and said that, okay, first of all, the very first Crash was always sort of difficult. Out of the three, it was the more difficult. 2 was okay. 3 was actually fairly easy in my opinion. But this dude came out and said that the first Crash is as hard as Dark Souls. And now this thing has being compared to, as far as difficulty goes, like one of the hardest games of modern gaming. And, I'll be honest with you, I've played Crash Trilogy. The controls in the first one seem a little laggy as far as input lag. But it's not to the point where it's like ridiculous. I know some people got stuck at one area in particular. It's like the third level where there's a lot of spikes like coming down from the ceiling, and it's difficult. But I mean, it's like you go through it. If you die, you die. You start back where the level begins. You don't start where you died like all these modern games do. So it made me just think of the difference between how games were difficult from, when you and I were younger versus now. And I mean, I even played Ratchet and Clank not too long ago, and literally you would die and you spawned right where you died. So of course these games don't need cheat codes anymore, man. They're built into the game. What are your opinions on that, man? Do you think modern gen games are just hand holding games? Just, All
right. So yes, in my opinion, yes, I do agree with that. So I'll ask you this question. Okay, so I bet you could probably name 10 games that you beat on the Xbox 360 and PS3 era versus when you could beat or 10 games you played on the NES and Sega Genesis era. It is a and what I'm getting with that is progressively games have gotten more hand-holded and more easier to complete, more easier to et cetera, to accomplish. You still get those very rare games that like they make it a mission to make it more difficult. But if you're going to sit there and compare something like Dark Souls to Crash Bandicoot, then you probably are spending your fucking first time playing Crash Bandicoot. Because I tell you right now, Dark Souls is a fucking madman's game. And really, seriously, I've never even played one, but I've seen shit about it. And I tried out Bloodborne, which is another.
Oh, that's like the hardest one, dude. That game's fucking ridiculous.
So I was going to make a YouTube video about this, okay? And I got too embarrassed to put it out, okay? And I put this video like, yo, it's Kamikaze Soundz, you know, the stupid shit that I do. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm going to play fucking Bloodborne, man. I'm going to demolish this shit. And fucking 45 minutes into it, I'm like, yeah, delete this shit. Delete. yeah. I fucking suck so bad at that game, man. Like, I really tried to put my time and effort into it. And I learned a very valuable lesson playing that game. I love video games, and sometimes I think I'm good at shit. But when it comes to something like that, nope. Not for me. I tell you, there was a part where I fucking got really far in the first level and I got close to the last boss, or I got to the last boss, something like that, and I died. And I literally, I must have turned Kool-Aid fucking fruit punch red my face with anger. It literally had the controller up in the sky like, that's it, fuck. And I'm like, you know what, that's it, I've learned it. You know what, this is not the game for me. I'm gonna end up killing someone playing this fucking game. It makes me so fucking angry.
Yeah, BioPhoenix makes a good point. It's the Crash Trilogy is easier than the original since you can use analog control. Also, you don't need tokens to save your game anymore. That's actually a very good point. But yeah, man, dude, fucking Bloodborne. I haven't played Bloodborne yet, but I'll tell you what, I got stuck on Dark Souls 3. I'm still stuck at a boss. I gave up. I'm at 80 hours in. I've grinded. I'm as leveled up as I can be, and this boss, maybe I'm just not very good. But I tried to solo it myself, and most of the people, actually every single people I know that have beaten it did it with help, or they did it with NPC help, and I didn't do any of the side quests to get the NPCs. So fucking my mistake. Oops, you know.
But no, but to compare something like Dark Souls to Crash Bandicoot, like that, those are. And if you're trying to compare two different genres, like that, still I don't feel like has any relevance. Like, you know, you can still compare two different genres to being difficult, but to what I think you're saying is Crash Bandicoot is a difficult game. And what I'm saying is it's a difficult game because it's a difficult game for the time. It was a difficult game back then. But still, to us people who played games back then, like, we just accepted that challenge. We knew games were difficult. Like, look at Resident Evil, okay?
Dude, I never fucking beat games when I was a kid. I don't think I ever beat a Nintendo game other than probably the 3 Mario Brothers.
Exactly.
Like, exactly. I don't know. Dude, honestly, maybe Star Tropics 2. I don't think that I think I might have beat that one because there's a save state. You can save pretty often. But like Sega Genesis, I didn't fucking beat too many Sega games, dude, other than Sonic. Like, yeah,
like Sonic, I think I might have beat like Toe Jam and Earl or some shit like that. Toe Jam and Earl is fucking awesome. Another Sonic or Sega Genesis game that I might have beaten. I can't really think off the top of my head, but what I'm getting to is like Crash Bandicoot is not an easy game, and I'm not saying that it's an easy game, but what I'm saying is to people who like in our generation that play games like that was the norm. We were completely content with games being difficult because that was what games were at that time. And now you get into this new generation, like, I mean, basically, like, you know, let's play, for example, let's talk about Uncharted or Halo, et cetera, et cetera. You get shot a few times, you just duck behind a wall, you heal right up, go back out to visit. You know what I mean? You literally, like, there's no penalty for being careless. There's no penalty for that. It's just a little small punishment. And if you're acting a little bit too reckless or wild, you got to restart. And your checkpoint is literally 2 seconds before where you started from in the get-go. So I will say that older games are more difficult, but to compare them to something like Dark Souls, where like its whole emphasis is difficult, like that's what that game is made for.
Yeah, that game is made to be difficult for the purpose of being difficult. Like,
right? Yeah. But like Crash Bandicoot, like I mean, I've beaten Crash 1, Crash 2 and 3. I mean, I know that I've played them, but I for some reason just can't like remember my backlog and my memory of playing them. But I know that I did play them. But that was like this weird era in PlayStation 1, like when Spyro the Dragon came out, and like I just didn't subscribe to all that. I remember playing my PS1 like strictly for like Metal Gear Solid, Siphon Filter, more mature adult games. I didn't really play the more kiddie like platforming games. Don't get me wrong, I did, but like I enjoyed my PS1 for like Resident Evil, for Siphon Filter, for like Metal Gear Solid. Those are the games that I remember more than anything else on PS1.
Yeah, man, they had that part in Siphon Filter when you would tase him and it would turn into fire.
Yeah. Man, those were good. Those were like, you know, I mean, looking at them like in a retrospect, like they're not mature games by any standard nowadays, but they were mature for us back then. You know what I mean? And plus, you know, in our age, even though we were not of age to buy them as they would be nowadays, you could go in and buy that shit. Nobody wouldn't give a fuck.
I bought the Siphon Filter when I was collecting for the PS1, just so I could chase people and turn them into, you know, burnt marshmallows. But yeah, see, I like Spyro, man. It's funny that you said you didn't like those, but I liked Metal Gear Solid too. I liked all that shit. But a lot of the things with like those 5th gen games they weren't difficult to be difficult. They were difficult because the controls sucked, and they didn't figure out how to like, or they didn't even have the technology to be able to move the camera because the game would like technically could not be able to handle you moving a camera around the screen. The processing power wasn't even there to do that. So that's one of the reasons why those games were hard. Just because you couldn't move the camera and you couldn't judge distance very well. So
right, and I put that into reference as a new game. Were you a huge Star Fox fan by chance?
Man, you know, so I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but my buddy had a 64. He had Star Fox 64. Went over there and played it. I liked it, but that's about all I really played. I never owned the game or anything like that.
Well, I was literally obsessed with Star Fox 64, and that's not what I'm getting into. But what I'm getting to is something like a modern. I'm comparing it to like something like older, but Star Fox Zero, like your biggest enemy in that game are the controls, because they try to do something new and inventive with the game Wii U pad and it just didn't siphon out. But no, what I'm getting to is like some of the older games, yeah, like your biggest enemy in those games is like sometimes the game aren't that like difficult, it's the controls that you have to fight.
Yeah. So you say even the new Wii U Star Fox is like that?
All right, so I'll put it like this. I'm such a huge Star Fox fan, like I accepted it. But what they wanted to do was really put you in the seat of a pilot. And I get it. So literally you would have to use the Wii U gamepad as your cockpit view, but also use your TV as your navigation of your ship. So you would literally have to aim with your reticle on your Wii U gamepad, but also have to look up at your TV every 1 or 2 seconds to make sure you're not running into shit. And those are rare sections in the game. I'm not going to say that's the entire game. But those are the sections that I think like that ruin the game for a lot of people. And I'm not going to say like any control style is bad. Look, any control style is good or bad depending on what you want to spend time with to perfect and what you think is the worst or best, et cetera, et cetera. It's all up to who really enjoys it and who really wants to spend time to get good with it.
Yeah, no doubt. Completionist says I'm actually one of the few people that actually prefers the original Star Fox over Star Fox 64. I can't.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, I can't subscribe to that because I've tried playing that one on the SNES, and you want to talk about a game that has not aged well? Holy shit, man!
I don't mind Star Fox, the original Star Fox on SNES. I liked it. Actually, I never owned it, but my cousin had it, and I remember he beat it, and I was in the same room and he beat it, and I was like, this dude's a gaming god. But I was very young, and he was much older than I was. But anyway, Star Fox 64, the reason I say that I prefer that, because I literally, like I said, I was addicted to Star Fox 64. I played through, I remember I think it came out in the summer, and I played through that game at least once a day through the summer, because it's a short game, you can beat it in like 45 minutes to an hour, depending on which route you want to go. And I played it through once a day, every day, the entire summer, man. I loved that game.
Did you have a Sega or a SNES growing up? Or did you have? Or are you one of the rare kids that had both?
No, man. Sega, man. Sega all day, bro. Sega.
Loved it. Well, hey, talking about old consoles. So, there's been talk about Sega coming back with a new console now for a while. It's kind of like the fanboys.
It's never gonna. It's
the
not gonna
fanboys' dream. But imagine a new Atari console. Have you heard of this ataribox bullshit? Have you heard about this thing? It's actually not bullshit.
No, I haven't, and I mean, like I said, I started gaming with the NES. I still have my original shit. That's where I started from. Don't get me wrong, I love the respect for the old like Atari games, et cetera, et cetera. I've checked them out just because, or played something on something, you know, just to say like, hey, you know, I have a respect for gaming. I want to see like what these things are about. But no, I started with the NES, and I pretty much grew up from there.
Well, apparently, there is a new Atari console. So, like, I think it was right around E3. There was a little launch trailer that was just essentially like this. Had, you know, like the crazy, you know, epic music, and then it had an Atari logo, and then the wood grain, and it said ataribox, and then there was a website. And, well, apparently the CEO of Atari confirmed that they are, and I quote, back in the hardware business, and we are going to be getting some sort of piece of hardware that is from Atari. I don't... They claimed bankruptcy in 2013. I'm really curious to know what this is, and I've talked to a few people. I know Picule Gamer and Cyrus Martin on their show Game Ramblings talked about it, and they had mentioned that there was a guy from, I think, Atari Age. I'm kind of just spitballing here of and breaking it down for what they said, but there was a guy who got a hold of it, and there was a lot of rumors, because like my instant thought was it's probably an Android box. It's probably something like maybe an Ouya, or it's going to be my first initial thought was, okay, it's a retro plug and play, because that was my initial success in Nintendo, yada yada yada.
That's my initial thought. That was my initial thought when you said it.
Well, apparently, okay, this thing doesn't take cartridges, doesn't take SD cards. The guy from Atari Age said it has nothing to do with retro gaming, and it is using PC technology. I was thinking some sort of PSN, like a PS Now situation, or a Xbox Game Pass situation. Because you see that with the way things go in digital, but fucking Atari and the console business in 2017, man, it just seems strange to me. I don't know what this thing could be, but I am curious, and I am very anxious to know what this thing is.
I mean, Atari made like one of the very first good Dragon Ball Z games on a console. I know that new Dragon Ball Z game is coming out, Dragon Ball Z Fighter. And by the way, I'm buying that shit day one. That's fucking like a Marvel vs. Capcom game with Dragon Ball Z characters. I'm fucking there, man. Sign me up. But no, I mean, Atari, they still made software as far as I know. I mean, they made a Dragon Ball Z game, but yeah, the same thing like with Sega. When it comes to like, all right, exactly. When it comes to Sega, like, I would not be opposed to a Dreamcast 2, and I would care less if it was underpowered. I would care less if it was flawed. I would care less if it had, just a bunch of games that I've already played before to a degree. But it'd be something that I'd be super interested in. Like I said, I'm a huge fanboy, so I can only speak to that. Now, Atari, like I said, I can't speak for them. I never really had anything from that company, but I can't speak for Dreamcast. I know the Dreamcast 2 was like rumored, and that's definitely never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But if Sega did do something like that, I do think they could succeed if they were just smart about it. And Atari could be at the same rate because, like I said, I can't speak for them, but they could be very, very successful at it depending on what fan base they want to target and what they happen to do with it.
Down Phoenix makes a real interesting point here in the chat. He says, I bet the Atari, and this is something I hadn't even really thought about, I bet the Atari box is a glorified PC. I see it being like an Alienware type of deal. The only thing about that is, though, you talk about Alienware, you talk about thousands of dollars. I mean, you're hitting that 1K range.
Easy.
Our PC gamers are not going to abandon that technology, or I mean, unless there's some sort of partnership. I don't see PC gamers going, "Oh, look, an Atari computer." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no! If I saw, I was like, "Hey man, we're selling." Hey, if some guy came on my screen and was like, "Hey guys, how you doing? My name is so and so. I'm the CEO of Atari, and we're selling a new PC." I'm like, X. Like I'm not even trying to hear anything further. And it's not because I mean, you give everything a chance, but like they have just a reputation at this point where what the console they try to put out, like the Jaguar and et cetera, like they just have a reputation. I think that no one's really going to take them seriously.
Well, this is interesting. And then he added this. He said, what if they don't make it, but probably license their name and shit to someone else? We've seen other companies do that in the past. We've seen developers do that, or publishers. Well, maybe not publishers, but yeah, you know what I'm getting at. That could be a possibility. What if they, license their name out and someone else is using it? Someone that has
like the
means...
Atariware Atari or Alienware Atari.
I mean, I don't know. What if they formed it could be a number of things. I mean, I think here's my thing though. There has to be some sort of partnership going on, because there's no way this is just Atari. They simply do not have the financial capital to do something like this. I mean, you mentioned Sega. Can Sega, do they have the capital to release a new console? Sure, maybe a plug and play, but they're not building a new fucking console that's going to compete with the big three.
Right, no, and I completely agree. But I think at the same time, Sega still has that fan base that they could still put out something, even a Sega Dreamcast 2, and it doesn't even have to compete with the big three. It doesn't have to be a plug and play. It could be a console on its own. But I think Sega still has a fan base so loyal that they could still put out something. And it doesn't have to be a big fucking shit. It could be something where it just has, some of the games that we've all wanted growing up from Sega to actually have. Like a new Daytona USA, something, etc. Like, Knuckle Chaotix 2. Like, I think if they decided to do something like that, I don't think I would be opposed to it. I think that I would actually be happy to buy it and know that it's not going to be the greatest fucking thing ever, and even still have flawed in something games. But I think that Sega has had like that market where you kind of expect that from them, but at the same time, like that's where I would be happy to buy something like that.
That is, I mean, that's a good point. And you mentioned Sega's fan base. I think Sega actually has more of a fan base now than, say, they did in 2002. Because now you have, because Sega's like this mysterious, to these new people who have never maybe played retro games or just getting into it. Sega's like this new thing. Like, they grow up with Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. Like, oh, man, what is Sega like? Sega's so different. So I would say you're right in a sense that Sega could absolutely do it. Atari, on the other hand, does not have that loyal fan base. It is not there.
I completely agree.
I didn't grow up with an Atari. I was born in '85, so naturally I had a Nintendo. I think I got a Nintendo when I was maybe 4, so I would say 88, 89. I probably got a Nintendo. But however, I do remember playing the Atari. Friends had Ataris, neighbors had Ataris, and I never cared about Atari. And then you talk about people who, I don't know if you can hear a round young virgin in the background. My wife's watching Santa Claus 2. I don't know if this mic's picking it up, but it's making me laugh.
No, I can hear it.
Can you hear it? And I don't know if the stream can hear it, but it's funny. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Atari. You talk to people who grew up with the Atari, and they'll tell you the Atari was shit because these guys played. I mean, this is the heyday of the early '80s. Was the arcade heyday. They were playing games in the arcade, and then they get this Atari, thinking this thing's going to be like an arcade in your house because that's essentially what it was advertised as, and it's not even close.
Well, that was a lot of things. I mean, come on, how many probably even mature adults at the time and parents buying it for their kids bought the TMNT fucking game for the NES thinking it's going to be the one that was made by, I think, Konami and the fucking arcade. Nobody, I mean, it was not translated that, but they kind of gave that idea that it's something like that. But it was just a translated down fucking. But Sega, on the other hand, is a fucking arcade machine company, man. That's where they started, and I think that's what they do best. Look at fucking the House of the Dead, fucking Motor. Oh, what was the other one? It was a motorbike game. I mean, Sega is amazing at fucking just arcade games, and I don't think that they can do really no wrong sometimes. I mean, like I said, I'm a fanboy, so it's hard for me to argue a lot of things. But there's so many games that, like I said, I would have no. I would literally just go out straightforward, buy it. No, if they made a Dreamcast 2, I think I'm such a fanboy, regardless of what it is or what it isn't. I would buy it. But I think maybe Atari might be doing something like that in the same light. Like, we had that fan base from so long ago, and you have these people who may be, older than we are, and they're like, you know what, it has Atari's name on it. They remember those old days. They want to experience something like that. They're going to buy it. Yeah,
BioPhoenix makes a good point. He says, it's good that Sega has the Sega Forever app to help with the casual market. Completionist brings up, what are the best things about Sega? I think Sega has always been a company that is willing to try different techniques with regards to making their games or attaching their names with games. Sega Forever is pretty cool. And yeah, Sega Forever, dude. Have you done any of that yet? It's essentially just pretty much all their retro games on mobile.
Sega Forever?
Yeah, dude. It's it is a if you have a smartphone and you type in Sega Forever, you can get all the Sonic games. There's Crazy Taxi on there. All sorts of games, man, dude, that you can play on your mobile device. And I would love to see like a Sega Forever app on the like PlayStation or Xbox. But man, dude, Sega is essentially what made me like the Xbox, man. It was the origins of the bro gamer in me, man. They had those arcade games, man, and that's what I played. And still to this day, like I like those types of games, like shit like Forza Horizon 3. It's an arcade racer at heart. And I tell people, hey man, if you want a Dreamcast 2, go buy yourself an original Xbox, man. Because if you really look at the history between Sega, I think it was like the old Sega president who actually wound up pulling the cord on Sega of the Dreamcast. He went and worked for Microsoft. There's a lot of similarities between the two, and then you see a lot of the old Sega IPs that went exclusively to Xbox. It's very interesting. It's definitely worth looking into.
I mean, even the controller. I mean, look at the fucking Dreamcast controller. Look at the Xbox controller. I mean, it's like almost identical to a degree. Big fat fucking buttons and triggers on the back, et cetera, et cetera. But no, man. I mean, I think it's the same reason. Like, I fell in love with Xbox too, because the same thing. Like, it's like it was the new age kind of Dreamcast. It's migrated to something completely different at this point. But no, man. I mean, I was such a huge fanboy of the Dreamcast. Like I said, I got mine on $99.99, man, and I was addicted to it from that day. The fucking Sonic Adventure. I mean, God Almighty. Fantasy Star Online. Playing games online. I mean, you had the web browser and all that shit. I mean, that was so ahead of its time. And then you got the PS2 that came out and just completely crushed it. But still, I mean, even when PS2 came out and Xbox came out, like, I still was loyal to my Dreamcast. And I would literally wherever I went, I took my Dreamcast with me. Vacations or parties or et cetera. And I plugged up Marvel vs. Capcom 2, was accepted in all challengers. But man, so many fucking good games. So many